Hi guys, so today I'm just going to show you how to make some simple quilled pumpkins that are great for table confetti if you're having a party or something. I mean, you could even turn them into earrings or key rings or something if you like, but today we're just doing it as basic shapes so that you can do confetti. I'll show you the two types in a minute, but first I'll tell you what you need. So obviously you're going to need some quilling paper. This is just thin strips of paper in orange and green. Doesn't have to be too fussy, but if you just search for quilling paper, you can buy quilling paper from my shop, or there's Amazon or anywhere else. Quilling paper is pretty easy to find. It's just like shredded up paper. You can even shred up some of your own colours if you wanted. I'm sending everything flying. So, nice simple paper, nothing special. Some glue. I'm just using basic white PVA glue. I've just put some of this into my little nozzled one. This you can also buy from me if you need to, but you know, it's just basic white glue, so you can get it in most places. You don't need this little container, but I have one that has a tiny little nozzle, and I think it gives me more precision for gluing, so that's what I use. But you can get away with not using it. Pair of tweezers. Again, you could get away with not using these, but I find it easier to help manoeuvring things into place if you have something pointy. Again, this is just a sharp point, so you have to go steady with this. But again, I find these helpful for manoeuvring into place and for gluing. You could just put glue onto the end of these, hence why there's glue on the end of this one, and use that to dot around, so it's really useful. This is an important part of the tool, and this is a quilling, I call it a quilling pen, but I don't know what they're really called. And I don't know if you can see, it has a little slot in the pen, and that's where we slot in our quill to curl our paper. And these two are optionals, but I find them really handy, and this is just a shaped guide for making the circles we're going to use to make the pumpkins. But you can do it around any round thing. I mean, if you've got a bottle lid or something, you could do it around that. Anything that's the size you want, really. And then this is just a little gadget that crimples my paper. So you don't have to do crimpled paper in the second one that I'll be showing you, but I think crinkled paper just looks really cool, so I use a little paper crinkler. So just pop all these out my way. And I can show you. This is the other type, which is still drying even more because this is the last one I made, so you can still see some of the white from the glue. But this glue dries completely clear, so once it's clear, nobody's going to see where you've glued. So just glue in every spot you can to make it stable. So see, it's the same. Pop that down there. So that's what that one looks like. And this one's made with the crinkle paper. I can get it to focus there. Can you see? It's just all crinkly. It just makes it really pretty. So that's what I've done. So as I said, once it's dried, all these little white spots of glue will disappear. But I was impatient to wait for it to dry to show you, because it's not going to make much difference. I can show you is when I first learnt quilling many years ago. This is one of the first pair of earrings I made. And you see, it's just the paper and that white glue with a few layers of that glue, and it's still going. It's pretty solid. I've even put these under a tap of water to see how they cope in the rain, and you see they're fine. So as long as you coat them well with glue, do a couple of layers after each one dries, these things can last absolutely ages. So if you look after them, you'll have them for next year as well. So for the crinkly one, I also did the top part with a crinkle paper, just so that it ties in. So just grab another strip of green and your little thing. Now, if you haven't got one of these, don't worry about doing this part. I just like doing it. You can't really see, but I'm just poking it in there, and I'm just giving it a turn. See, it's just feeding it through there, and then on this side it's coming out. And it's all crinkly. Can you see the crinkles in that? And I just think it looks really pretty. But then I'm the sort of person that likes crimped hair, so you know. And then we're going to do the exact same thing as we did with this one. There we go, with that one. So we're just going to roll it up. But you're going to be careful not to smooth out the crinkles when you do this one. You want to smooth out just a little bit on the edge so that you can get it into the pen. I find if it's too crinkly it doesn't really fit in the pen very well. So just smooth it out a little. Pop it in, and then we're going to do the same thing, but when we keep the tension we're going to keep this a little looser so that we don't smooth out that crinkle. Ooh, helps if it doesn't come out. You can get some pens where you literally slot in, but I don't understand the way to use them. I like this one where you slot from the top and not through the middle. So we're just going to slide this through, try to keep it up if you can so that it's against your finger, and that keeps it reasonably even. Remember, not too much tension on this one because we don't want to ruin the crinkle, but we're going to do the exact same thing we did before. So almost at the end, gently ease it off. Remember, we're going to hold the edge, let it unravel ever so slightly till we get to the size we want. And then we're just going to glue that in place when it works. And there we go. Okay. And while that's in place, choose where you want to bend. I always do the bit where I've joined at the base so that when you glue it to the pumpkin that join is also attached to the pumpkin, less chance of it coming around, so you put the curve on the side of it. So you're just gently curving around. I know it's really hard to show on camera, I'm so sorry about that, but I'm hoping you get what I mean. We're just curving it around so you can see it's all curved, but if it will focus you can see this one has the crinkle of the paper, which gives a really nice effect. And again, do the same thing with the glue, so we're just going to glue all over the top to make sure that it stays pretty solid. If you're going to throw these out after use, then you probably don't need to do this step, but I like to reuse everything, so these will be reused. So we're just popping glue all the way around to make sure that that's going to stay put. Put a little extra on the edge there. So I'll leave that over there to dry. So we've got the two drying. Remember, once they've dried that side, flip them over to do the other side, but they may not be dried by the end of this video. So, okay, so next we're going to make this crinkly one next. So obviously we're going to need a little crinkler and some orange paper. Now, the outside edge I didn't do crinkly, I've just done that is the normal plain edge. You could do it crinkly, but I prefer to give it a plain edge for the outside just because it's easier to keep it under control. So again, I'm going to use my device, but you can use whatever you've got to make your round circle. Again, I use the 7th, but you can use any one, any size you like. If anyone is using these, I'm using the 7th one down. So again, we're just going to do the same as we did last time. So apparently I have an air bubble. We can just go and try to make sure your paper is on the bottom of the section, because it helps keep everything nice and snug and even when you're finishing it off. So again, just put some glue around, not much, just enough to make sure it's staying in place. And if you keep it pushed down, you'll know that it's going to be a nice even edge when you finish. And so you can make a whole bunch of these in all different sizes. Smaller ones can look really pretty, but so can bigger ones. Depends how much paper you got and how much confetti you need to fill, how big your table is really. But they do look fab decorated around the dinner table, or if you're having a party buffet, just pop them around the plates, not on the food obviously, but just around on the table around them. And it really gives a little festive feel. And I prefer these than shop bought plasticky ones, because one, you got the accomplishment of making them, which is really cool, but I prefer paper to the shiny ones. I don't know why. There's nothing wrong with the shiny ones. I like shiny things, but when it comes to this sort of stuff, I really prefer the nice little paper effect ones rather than the pretty shiny ones. I'm sure you know what I mean by the shiny ones you can buy in shops for birthdays and Christmases and all sorts. I'm sure they do Halloween ones as well, not that I've ever bought any. Do check back, because there will be more tutorials, not just for Halloween, but over Christmas I will be doing some tutorials as well for some fun Christmassy themed stuff and winter themed ones. So just make sure it's all down and smooth. Once that's down, give it a second to bond and then gently start lifting it up. You want to do this really gently so you don't rip the paper, because of course it is slightly wet with that glue on it. So you're just kind of easing it up to the point that it suddenly pops off itself. There you go. And it doesn't stick to it. There you go. So again, we're going to make the indent, which I'm going to have it at the top, so where the green sticks will be where the indent is. Where the end part is. So just give it a little bend around. Instead you can play with the shape, so if it accidentally goes out of shape, it doesn't matter, don't fret, just have a little play until you get the thing. You can have little dents, you can have bigger dents, it's entirely up to you what you feel like having really. This one is insisting on a small dent. There we go, we've got a bit bigger. Sometimes the paper does what it wants and there's nothing you can do about it, unfortunately, but at least I've not found a way to do it. But it still looks right, it's still pumping-ish, isn't it? And you can place some more as you're putting the piece in. So while that's drying, let's prepare the strip. So again, one more strip and your little spiral, your little quimper. Just pop it in and let it quimp it through. And this one only uses one strip. There we go. So just give a second, let that solidify a little, and then we can pop it in. So this one, all we're going to do is stick it to one bit and then we're going to move it up and down until we've got the whole thing in and glue it in place. It can be a little fiddly to start with, but I tend to glue the first bit in to secure it for when we're fiddling. It just makes it a little easier. So just pop a little dot just around the curve area. That's where I start mine. Could be anywhere you want, but that's just where I choose to start mine. And then I pop the dot of my wrinkly, the end of my wrinkly into that and just give it a little squeeze. It just secures it in place a little while we have a play at getting the rest in place. So obviously it's not fully dry, so it can come off, so just be steady when you're moving things around. But just kind of ease it in various positions around, and you can manoeuvre this about as you go, so you can get more in and change how much you get done. You're just going to keep easing in. I mean, you could snip off and have smaller bits, but I like to try to encourage as much of a strip in because it really, so I just kind of manoeuvre things around, using up more the paper by creating shapes. See, as I move one, I move the other one up, leaves more space for more paper. I say see, and my fat hands are in the way, aren't I? Sorry. But see, it's just slowly encouraging it all to go in, so just keep, like we've got a nice little gap there, so we can do that. Encourage that one in and down, which moves this piece up a little. This piece goes down a little, so it's going to be glued at the bottom, which will move this piece up, because you want each end to be touching the opposite end so that you can glue them to the edges. So each time you manoeuvre one, you can move that one along to then encourage the next one in. And once you've got the whole thing in, you can then manoeuvre them around even more, just to get it exactly where you want it before you glue anything. We're just going to keep manoeuvring around. You get fed up with me saying manoeuvring around in a minute, aren't you? Unfortunately, that's what a lot of this is, it's manoeuvring it in so that it all fits. See, we're getting there, slowly but surely. Okay, so it's all in. Now we'll manoeuvre into positions that we like. So we've got to curve that way, and we really want it curving this way as well. So I say hold that last piece in place. We don't want to glue it yet because we may need to move it. But just try to encourage the curves to go the opposite way around. I'm going to press them down slightly because it can get a bit springy, as you know from the last one. Even this gets springy, so you're just going to keep manoeuvring it. Again, I said it again, I told you you're going to get fed up with me saying it, didn't I? Once you've decided where you want it, then you can start gluing them in. I know that I'm covering a load of this with my hands, and I'm really sorry, but it's the only way you actually get to hold them in. You're just going to keep manoeuvring them there. See how we're going? So I think I'm going to glue them in, and then you can do a final bit of manoeuvring as you glue. See, so we've got the first end done, but we need to start down here. Remember, work around like we did the last one, then you know you haven't missed any. I'm going to use this to hold these in place while I do it, because this is a very springy one. There's not quite so much to hold these ones in place, because you're only using a strip of one paper, whereas the last one we used two. So there's less in this one. Don't be afraid to squish the outside of your pumpkin to meet the inside either, because you're going to shape your pumpkin around anyway. So like the bottom there, if it's not quite reaching, just give it a little squish. Make a slightly flatter bottom pumpkin, it doesn't matter. So now we're going to glue up the top here. When my glue wants to come out. Again, we're just holding in, maneuvering the spots. So we've got a slightly bigger gap here, just bend it down. See how the gap is? Just bend it down and you get funky shaped pumpkins. As I said, no pumpkin is perfectly round, so you've got to bend it down, don't worry about it. That will stay in shape once you've glued it and it's dried. See how we've bent that down so it's meeting each other. So that's the outside edges done. Now a couple of places you'll spot, if I use this instead of my fat fingers, you can spot a couple of places they're touching, so we glue those pieces that are touching as well. I just pop glue across the top and it sinks in. Pretty sure you can't see a thing I'm doing. So I'm just literally putting it across the top of them. And it sinks down into it. Give a little squeeze around if you need to. And there's still time to manoeuvre anything if you're not happy with something, so don't think it's done and dusted once you start gluing. Until it's fully dry, you can still manoeuvre safely without ripping anything. So I'm just, notice I didn't glue there, so just glue across the top there. Use your tweezers to encourage your glue if it starts going in the wrong places. That said, you can use this glue. In fact, I haven't shown you how to use it, have I? So you just have your glue on it and you can use that to get in. So this is much easier if you don't have one of my type bottle nozzles. You can use this to get your glue into the places you need it to go. So it's a really handy little tool. You can usually spot where you haven't glued enough because it does come apart pretty easily in those areas. Just encourage it all. There we go. So here's that one done as well. So we're just going to let that dry and then we'll do the other side of that as well. Okay. This one's still a little delicate, but you get the gist of it. So, again, decide, because it's not dry, it's still sticking to me. I do recommend you leave these to dry before you attempt sticking together, but as we're doing a video on a timeline here. So decide where and how you want it, and then just do the same thing. So, let's try not to glue my hands together while we do this, shall we? So we wanted it that way, didn't we? Yep. So just apply more glue like before. Pop it on exactly where you want it, and then apply more glue across the top. Try and do this so you can see. Just to make sure it's nice and secure, and then once that's dry, turn it over and do the other side. And then you end up with these two like we've done here. See, so once they're dry, they're perfectly stable. You can pick them up and move them around. But yeah, it doesn't matter that they're different each time because every pumpkin is different. I won't move that because it's still drying, but you get the angle of it. So each one is different and each one is just its own unique character, but they make great confetti for tables. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Sorry about the parts with my big chunky hands covering things, but hopefully you got the main gist of it all. And maybe if you can show me what you've made in my group on Facebook. Just look for Sonia Jones YouTube group on Facebook and you can share anything you've made from any of my tutorials, or anything just gave you ideas from my tutorials. Just pop the pictures into my Facebook group. That's great to see you all, and I hope you'll pop back soon for more tutorials. Until then, take care, bye!